So welcome to another episode of Life Distilled. I'm Cobey Williamson, founder of MicroShiner. I'm coming to you from an absolutely beautiful October day here in Hamilton, Montana. It's been a little while since I've been on the program. And I hope you've been enjoying all the episodes that Brian's been doing with the distillery visits and all the interviews. He's really been hitting a lot of great spots and doing a lot of great shows. So be sure to check that out, 360 video on microshiner.com or on YouTube, and also subscribe to the podcast. You can do that on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all of your favorite spots. I kind of like Podcast Addict. It's kind of a smaller outfit, and they do a really great job over there. But for those of you who've been following us for a while, you'll know that sometimes I like to jump on the show and talk about a few things that are apart from distilling, always in the nature of life distilled, but not necessarily related to craft spirits. Although, as you know, if you've watched any of the shows, and if you haven't, check them out. There's always some craft spirits involved, almost always. Right. So just wanted to let you know, because if you're expecting a distillery interview or a chat with a distiller or a visit to a distillery, well, stick around, please. But if you're really looking for that, you might want to come back next week, because Brian is currently on an airplane flying back from New Jersey after visiting 5 distilleries, I think it was, and doing podcasts and webcasts at each of those. But for today, we're going to come at you with a little something else. Now, this should be another Sober October video, and pretty sad to say, I think that was the last time I was on the program, last time I hosted the podcast, but we are going to Sweden for the World Dryland Championships. And if you want to know more about that and my wife's adventure there, the goal that she set and achieved, and our trip to Sweden for the World Dryland Championships in Canicross with our Siberian Husky buck, then go to buydog.org. But I kind of thought it'd be the epitome of foolishness to practice Sober October in the middle of a trip to Europe, where I've never been. Sweden in particular, and then hopefully down into Denmark and Germany as well. So I kind of pushed Sober October off until later this year. We'll circle back on that after the first of the year. But I do like to take a break from drinking and just any kind of intoxicants in general during the month of October, practice Sober October, and then again in January after the first of the year, and sort of focus on wellness. And that wellness is really the point of the first thing I wanted to share with you guys. But before that, how about a cocktail, right? It's Life Distilled. So what we have here today is, I've shared this before, but Vilja Spirits Huckleberry Liqueur. We're kind of out of the huckleberry season, but you know, most people have a little stash in their freezer now that they went up in the mountains and collected over the summer. So we're going to do that. I also have a little of this dry sparkling soda, vanilla flavored. Never tried this before. I'm kind of going out on a limb. My wife would tell you that sometimes my experiments work and sometimes they do not. And I made some tomato zucchini soup out of our garden the other day that did not get the ratios right. But I'm going to pour a little soda in here. And then, because I thought it would be kind of cool just to see how it did, I'm going to float the liqueur on top. And we'll see how that goes. All right, folks. Cheers. Yeah, I got those proportions just about right. Shout out to our friends at Hillbilly Distills. Haven't talked to Mike and the gang for a while, but hopefully they're doing well, and we always appreciate this glass. and those guys for giving it to us. So first things, I don't really imbibe of cannabis anymore. My 20s were pretty well dedicated to that, and I think it helped me in a lot of ways. And it's really exciting what's going on in the world of medical and recreational cannabis. Just so excited to see the change in the mindset, it going from something that people are reefer madness and going over to it being an accepted part of humanity's experience as it always has been. And so, again, really excited about it. Personally, think everybody should just grow some flower in their backyard if you need to have that, but not everybody lives in a place where you can do that. So, always a shout out to our friends at Absolute Extracts. Those boys do a really good job, and girls, of course, Misty, do a great job, and we're always big fans of them, so we'll give them a little shout. I wanted to share that just kind of as a prelude to the thing I really wanted to share with you, which is this patient journal from Gold Leaf. And so check this out. These folks make like the best, top shelf, the best patient medical cannabis companion journal that you can get your hands on. Their mission, focus on creating science-forward and thoughtful products for cannabis patients and enthusiasts. Just definitely want to get this on your all's radar. So how this kind of fits in with me, I came across this and I just thought that's awesome. First of all, just the execution on it is just on point. It's just gorgeous. Then I just love the idea of this, of actually taking the time to really pin down both your use and the effect on your condition or syndrome that the cannabis has. And for me personally, I just, I've been kind of struggling a little bit with some health things. Not really certain what it is. I think it's in the realm of arthritis, inflammation, troubles with the whole body, really. And so I've been really taking note of this kind of thing. And I wanted to journal my own experience. My healthcare providers all said I ought to be writing down how I feel each day and what's working, what's not working, what I experienced, the interventions, and whether they worked or not. And when I saw this journal, I just thought, well, even if I'm not using cannabis in my treatment plan, this is just the perfect thing to use to document where I'm at with my own health and wellness journey. So I just, again, want to share it with you folks. We have therapy, place for your notes, the effects of the interventions, dosages, timelines, symptoms, before and after, everything you need to really keep track of what's going on in your own personal situation. So goldleaf.com, I believe, shopgoldleaf.com. Sorry about that, boys and ladies. Go check it out. Logbooks, they have multiple different kinds, not just the patient journal, also for just enthusiasts and connoisseurs. And they were working on something for whiskey, and so hopefully that came about. And if not, let's stay after that, because that would be rad. The next thing that I wanted to get into a little bit, if you've ever met me or read any of my posts or listened to or watched Life Distilled, then you know that I have long been a fan of Patagonia, the company. I'm sure I'd be a fan of Patagonia, the place. And we did do a podcast where my good friend Ross Raby came back with a bottle of gin from that part of the world, and I would encourage you to check that out, Last Hope Gin. Those folks are incredible. Ross is amazing, and we did do a podcast with that subject in the focus, so do check that out. But Patagonia, one of the true trailblazers in the realm of ethical clothing. The company single-handedly took organic cotton. I still remember the day when I first picked up that original catalog where they made the switch, sitting in my brother's apartment, and was like, okay, wow, These guys are making the switch to nothing but organic cotton. I am going to only buy their clothes from here on out. And they took organic cotton from, a fringe element to the global standard in the world, and almost every company is working to make a move to organic cotton. Not everybody, but it has really been a game changer. What Patagonia has done with their line and their dedication to building clothes out of organic materials. Unfortunately, that success has not come without a cost. Once the domain of a bunch of purists, I still remember my first introduction to a Patagonia coat. My stepdad had one, and he was a pretty frugal, thrifty guy, and he had bought this coat because he said the company was outstanding and the coat was absolutely bulletproof. He was a backcountry ski tour, and all of his gear was counted on, and so he bought a Patagonia jacket shell, and he said it was the best that you could get. And I really agree in a lot of ways that they make some of the best. But as they've ascended, kind of like their contemporary North Face, who used to make some of the best mountaineering gear in the world, they're sort of become a commodity clothier. And that really means they have had to change some things. And while that's a good thing because it's really raised the bar on clean clothing, it's really, in my opinion, degraded Patagonia's ability to meet its commitment to environmentally conscious production and sustainability. And they used to be my go-to for organic cotton, as I've said, but now when I flip through their website or their catalog that I still take and enjoy every single time it comes to my house, I find most of their product line is all made out of polyester. It's recycled polyester, but it's still plastic clothes. And it's just a function, I think, and maybe they'll reach out and tell me differently, but a function of just the sheer volume of clothing that they're making. They cannot afford to sell at a price that's competitive, and people will buy clothes that are made from organic cotton. There just isn't that much organic cotton in the world. So, to be clear, I just have to totally get this out there. The only ethical choice in clothing is to buy used clothing, honestly. I haven't done the research, but I'm pretty confident that there is enough clothing in existence in the world today, right now, that nobody would have to make another stitch of clothing for 10 years and we would all still have clothes, and probably 20. But now, realistically, that's just not a long-term solution. At some point, we have to make more clothes. So our moral obligation is that those clothes be produced in a way that is ecologically sound. There are two ways that can be accomplished, really, and that's by using organic biodegradable materials and here's kind of where I step out on the branch a little bit, and through small batch production. Of course, that's the way that clothes used to be produced, and like most of the things that I talk about, at least, and generally that we talk about here at MicroShiner, the future of mankind can always be found in its past. That's not to say that there isn't a place for performance fabrics and automated production. There certainly is, but only that as conscientious consumers, our expectation must be that these products are all reclaimed and that they're recycled as part of a circular production process, a circular economy. Now again, hats off, nod to Patagonia because they're leading the way here again, and as always, in their latest catalog, which if you don't have it, maybe stop at one of their stores. It's worth just reading, sit in the shop, check it out. It is not really even a catalog, and this is one of those things that astounds me about Patagonia. They've actually made it their marketing plan to literally tell you not to buy their clothing, which makes everyone want to buy it. That is brilliant. They're geniuses. I believe their hearts are definitely behind everything that they say and try to do. It's just a challenging world that we live in terms of production and getting things into people's hands and not expecting everybody to want to have everything. But Patagonia does it as well as anyone, and they're some of the best in the world. But in here, they talk about how they have an entire warehouse dedicated to the clothing that they have asked all of the customers, such as myself, to send back after they've worn it out, basically. And that they by their own admission, have no plan whatsoever about what they're going to do with this stuff. But they want to encourage people to send it back, and they are storing it up until they figure out what they are going to do with it. And to that, all I can say is kudos, because that's our first step in the transition to a circular economy, is saying, okay, wait a minute, there's no such thing as throwing stuff away. In fact, I've instituted a new demonstration project in my own life, and that's that I send everything that breaks back to the manufacturer if I can't get it repaired myself locally or through their own repair program. And so what they do with it, I really couldn't say. So like in the case of this pair of Conair hair clippers that I'm dealing with currently, really nothing wrong with them. I think it's a short in the cord. I tried to fix it myself, but I couldn't quite get to the bottom of it. Right there on the Conair website, it says, do not send back to our repair center anything that is out of the warranty period, which these clippers, I was really impressed with them, actually. They've lasted 10 years, and I use them constantly. Obviously, haven't been able to use them lately. So I'm going to send them back to I'm going to try to get them repaired again. But if I can't, I'm going to send them right back to Conair, and I've started doing that with everything that breaks, because how else are we going to get these folks on board with the notion that there is no such thing as throwing stuff away? In fact, to be perfectly honest, the notion of a one-way chain, one-way stream from raw material to producer turns it into something, consumer buys it, consumer uses it, end of useful life, into the landfill, that this is somehow a one-way trip, it's sort of laughable. Anybody that thinks about that way anymore is kind of crazy. Everything we buy and own and use is made out of plastic, and even if it wasn't, say with a car, which they do a really good job of recycling cars, this is a circular thing. There's one globe. We're trapped here under one atmosphere, and there's no place to put that stuff, and no way that it's going to change itself back into a useful form in our lifetimes or many others. So why don't we get on board? And the way to do that, I think, is start doing this little demonstration of civil disobedience, consumer disobedience, and start shipping back products that break to manufacturers and ask them to fix them. And if they can't, figure out what they're going to do with them, because they're just as responsible for this item as I am. They made it, I bought it, I used it, I send it back to them, and hopefully between the two of us, we can turn it into something that someone else can use down the line. And it's really a critical factor in getting these companies to start thinking like Patagonia has in terms of a circular economy. So I hope you please join me in that, and I challenge everybody listening to start to institute this in their own lives. As I've mentioned, I moved away from buying Patagonia, and that move can largely be traced back to Patagonia itself and the situation it's created and their evolving business. For one, as I said, more and more of their line is recycled plastic, and I just avoid plastic clothing as much as I can unless I absolutely need it, like in a waterproof garment like a rain shell, those types of things. Everybody's got to have one or two of those, and I again, that's when I turn to Patagonia, because I know I could send it to them at the end, and it's going to go in that warehouse, and they're going to figure out how we can move this thing forward in the future, and I love those guys for that. But no matter if it's made out of recycled pop bottles or not, it is plastic, and the more that we make plastic clothes, the more we're going to make plastic, and the more plastic there's going to be in the system, so we just got to move away from that. And they have a lot of plastic garments, so I've been looking for other organic cotton manufacturers. And the second thing Patagonia's done to get me to move away from them as a company that I turn to really is because they, by raising everything up and creating this situation where organic cotton, there's a demand for it, they've let a bunch of little other businesses sneak in underneath them, created that economic holding space for those businesses to exist, forge new trails, and it's awesome that they've done so. But now I have the opportunity to turn to a lot of smaller, more boutique, small batch, we like to call it, bespoke type clothing companies for my organic cotton garments. And obviously that's something that we like here at MicroShiner, little guys. So I have a couple of those companies that I wanted to share with everybody. Full disclosure, this first one doesn't really use organic cotton in their products. Efficacy Clothing is a lifestyle brand built around moto, so that's really just not in their mindset or their wheelhouse to be thinking about sustainability when you're full throttle and down the road on your motorcycle. But I just love their hand-drawn artwork, their small batch mentality, their tribe. A lot of their slogans that they have on their clothing really resonate with me. So I bent the rules a little bit here, and I bought a couple of their tees that I really liked. Now, the first piece that I bought from them was organic cotton, so I know they're capable of it. I hope they will turn more in that direction and go with the wind. Last year's Sober October webcast, I believe I shared the crew neck sweatshirt made from organic cotton that I got from those guys. But I do have to admit to feeling a little guilty for breaking the rules and buying non-organic with this one. I had to do it too here with this shirt as well, because I really do try to avoid buying non-sustainable fibers wherever I can. And not that you can't grow cotton, but as I've talked about before in the Toad & Company review and introduction on the podcast a little over a year ago, go back and check that out. It's unbelievable the damage that industrial cotton does to the environment. So we really got to do as much organic growing as we can across the board, whether that's our food or our fiber. So I need to stick with that as much as I can. Another thought on clothes, just to also get this out. I readily admit that clothes are kind of a weakness for me. I dig them. I think they're awesome. I like getting new ones, and it's a bit of a guilty pleasure because I know that our relationship with clothing is really pretty unhealthy right now, and I really like to see these moves towards a more sustainable paradigm in the fashion industry, and there's a lot of places you can turn, and we're going to talk about a couple of them right now. So, back to Efficacy Clothing. I think they're out of Tennessee. A couple young guys sitting around the shed one day decided, hey, let's make some t-shirts. They get artists to do hand-drawn stuff for them. A lot of real labor-intensive hands-on work that goes into their clothes, and I dig it. So I'm going to show you a couple pieces that I got. Love this. Handcrafted, coast to coast, Efficacy Clothing Company, established 2014. High quality, little attention to detail. You can tell no robot put that together. Just some folks sitting around, probably having a cocktail, drinking some small batch. Yeah, a couple pieces that I thought were just great. Face Your Fear, Efficacy. I love that, guys. Where I grew up, Troy, Montana. We were the Trojans. Got the color. Really like that. And then, Give Me Liberty, Give Me Death. They have a lot of that stuff. I really dig it. I don't know how else to live. As I mentioned, these guys do a great job. Check them out. The only thing I ask is get on the organic cotton train, please. All right. Cheers, folks. Hey everybody, Cobey here again. It's been so long since I did one of these podcasts, I forgot that the camera turns off at 25 minutes, so I didn't get to capture the Taylor Stitch. I told you all that it was a beautiful day here in Montana, so I thought I'd step outside and show you that. Take a look around. This is my small holding in Hamilton, Montana in the Bitterroot Valley. But just wanted to jump right in, tell you about Taylor Stitch. They're another one of the sustainable, ethical clothing companies that I'm really into. Came across them, I can't really remember when, but tell you a little bit about their model. I believe, I got to do some research on this, but I believe they started out as a Kickstarter campaign, and then they leveraged that fund and then fulfill model into a full-time business platform. And they basically put up products on their website that they would like to make, and then see if they can get them funded in 30 to 90 days. If they do, then they go ahead and do that production run, and they kick out some amazing clothing. Again, not everything that they do is sustainably sourced, but a lot of it is. And I was excited about this because for the longest time, I would send little notes back to Patagonia, give them some feedback, say, hey, a bunch of us that have to dress business casual, we'd love to buy organic. And they just didn't seem interested in responding to that specifically. And super excited. That's exactly what Taylor Stitch has done here. And I just have to tell everyone, when I got this, I was really thrilled because this is some of the nicest clothes I've ever owned. And so, without further ado, show you a little something from Taylor Stitch. Love the box. Got San Francisco, one of my favorite cities. Shout out to that place. Of course, I'll get back to you after I've been to Copenhagen and Hamburg on where San Fran ranks in my hierarchy of towns I've been to. Hamilton, Montana is pretty nice. But of course, box is on point, thank you cards on point, kind of things you'd expect from a nice small batch company. And then a couple of these pieces here. This is one of the shorter runs that they've done. They have two types of products. They got their standard stuff that you can get just about any old time, and then they do these small runs where they do the fund and then fulfill model. This is called the California. It's a short sleeve shirt. I needed a couple pieces for work, and sitting around the office, and trying to be respectable. Can't be a punk rocker every single day of your life. And this shirt is rad. Love the colors. So glad that I got it before they ran out of stock. They may not ever run that again. That's one of the cool things. I had this situation where I bought a couple shirts, and then I show up at an event or something, and I'm in Montana, so it's pretty small fish pond there, and there'll be somebody there wearing the exact same shirt as me. Oh goodness, I can't deal with that. The blue Oxford, everybody's got to have one of these in their collection. I do not have one, but now I do. It's so on point. The stitching is just dialed. I got to do some more research, find out where it is exactly these guys source all their materials from, but organic cotton, that's critical. Thank you for that, gentlemen and ladies. Of course, the chino, again, a staple everybody needs. These were outstanding. I'm a real big fan. Again, in the organic cotton. And some Japanese selvage, denim, organic. Gotta have a pair of jeans in your wardrobe, right? And my Patagonia ones are starting to fade out. There's that real sweet spot, where a pair of jeans is just perfect. And then 2 weeks later, they go over the edge and the knees blow out. Or right at the pocket where it's stitched. That's where I wear them out a lot of the times. But anyhow, these guys at Taylor Stitch, really cool group of folks. And I'm excited to keep following up on what they have going on, following up with them, learn more about their production, see how they source their stuff, where they get it from, what that supply chain looks like. Make sure I'm keeping with what we're trying to do here, which is sustainable, ethical clothing, and do that in a just and transitionary way so that we can get to that place that we're all looking to be, if you'll notice the posters. Anyhow, everyone, just wanted to jump that in there. If you listen to the podcast, you get a whole different take on things, but wanted to make sure everybody saw this. The one complaint I do have, guys, is the plastic bags. I understand that I know about your world. I worked at this catalog fulfillment company for a little while. Worst 2 weeks of my life. And so I know you got your pick bins.
I know that Americans expect everything to come in plastic bags, but let's at least make those recyclable if we have to do that at all. I'd prefer if we didn't. Taylor Stitch, love it. I can't wait to reach out and chat with you guys on the direct. Folks, until next time, tune back in. Make sure you download the MicroFinder app so you can find distilleries near you, any place you are in the world. And check out Brian's upcoming Life Distilled podcast, webcast, 360 video. He's been to a lot of great places, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. Till next time, cheers.